Hey guys, so we are live on the Girl Get Visible page, and let me share. You guys know how well I do with the sharing thing. Let me share to the group, and then I'm going to introduce our special guests, and we're going to talk about what we're here for. And I'm all excited. So expect a lot of laughing. I am drinking. I'm not drinking an alcoholic drink, but I do have a beverage. So when y'all see me gulping it down, know that I am not getting drunk. On the live. Let me go to the page. One day I'm going to set this up to be automated, but not today. So let's make sure everybody is seeing us and sharing. If you are here, you can say hey in the comments so we can see that you're here. And okay, I see us live. Woohoo. And I am, although we look frozen live. Okay, there we are. We're moving now. I'm like, why are we like frozen? Sharing on my page and sharing in the group. I'm gonna post and then sharing. Hey Barbara, how you doing? I definitely recommend, if nothing else, because it's a party. Hey Brittany, definitely share with your friends, share with your peoples. Hey D-Star, how you doing? So we got all our folks here. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Supposed to be sharing one more place, right? Right, post, stop talking, and share. Yeah, I think I already shared to my page. No, I did not. Post. One more. All right. I had to share the online boutique source because I feel bad if I don't. All right. So, why are we here today? Like, if you guys can't see, woohoo! We are celebrating our 100,000 downloads, and now we're a little bit over. It's been a couple of days, but 100,000 downloads of the Girl Get Visible, formerly known as the Online Boutique Stores podcast, which I'll be talking a little bit about that too. And so, this is Monique.
Hi.
I don't know which way the camera's going, but either way, this is Monique McDonald. She is like my right and left hand girl here at Girl Get Visible and helps me out. I'm not gonna tell you everything, but she helps me out with so much, including the podcast. So I thought for today's celebration, plus I didn't want to be celebrating alone. Like my whole goal was, you guys know I always got a story, right? My whole goal was like, we were going to do this live event and have people in a stage and invite you guys all in person. And then COVID said, not going to happen. And it just so happens that we hit the 100K right around the same time of our launch. So maybe it's not that bad of a thing. So we've got a lot going on. And I wanted to bring, hey, Michelle, I wanted to bring Mo on, who is actually going to interview me tonight. This is going to be a live episode. So if you listen to the show, the podcast, which you should at this point, you should be listening to the podcast, right? If you listen to the podcast, you will eventually hear this one as one of the episodes of the podcast. And Mo helps me out so much with everything with Girl Get Visible, but specifically with a lot of the podcast work. So I thought it'd be fun. And, you know, she was nice enough to let me drag her from behind the scenes and get out here in front of everyone. I see all of our members saying, hey, see all of our members know Mo, right? Because we see Mo all the time. So I'm going to turn it over to Mo and let Mo kind of tell you a little bit about herself and introduce herself and all kinds of other good things.
All right, so I'm gonna do an Aquila. Hey guys. But yes, I am Mo. I've probably talked to a few of you ladies before, either reaching out, you know, to ask questions or to engage in the different groups that Aquila has. So I am her content strategist / I would say assistant, is the best way to put it.
/ right hand, left hand gal.
Sure. So I'm just like team GGV. That's the best way to put it. Yeah. And like Aquila mentioned, I help with quite a few things. So the podcast, sometimes I'm writing some of the content after she has done all the lovely job of putting the podcast together. I kind of go in and help with the uploads. You guys see me post a lot into the groups. So you'll see me put graphics or reminders or whatever you need in regards to the actual programs that you're in. So I am just her right-hand person. So that's pretty much what it is. And I'm so excited that she's hit 100K in downloads. I know this is a goal that she has been talking about, and to actually see it happen, I was super excited. I was watching it like a hawk. And when it happened, I was like, yes, we are finally here. So I know you guys are all in great hands with her. So I'm super excited to ask these questions that everyone has for her about how she even did it. So I think that's a great time.
I'm excited to share. I'm used to being interviewed like on other people's platforms, never my own. So this is going to be interesting and fun. Hopefully lots and lots of fun. We don't have a DJ. It's hard to get a DJ on virtual parties these days. But know that it's a party. Know that it's a celebration. If you do have questions, we've got some that I've been asking for days, like who has questions? But if you have some other ones, definitely drop them in the comments. Like I said, I see some of our members, some of our friends. Our members become our friends. So when I tell people like members, friends, they're like, all your friends are members? Yeah. Because once you come into our little world, we all become friends. So I see Brittany's on, I see Michelle's on, I see Barbara's on, I see D-Star, who's just joining us in the growth mobs. I see a bunch of folks. I see Pamela on. Hey, Pamela. I see a bunch of folks that we know, and I appreciate you guys for being here. So we are going to, if Mo's ready in a minute.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So we are going to just jump right in because we do have a ton of questions. And as usual, I've got a special announcement. I don't even think I've told Mo yet. She might have seen it on the website because I do that. Now, let me tell you, working with me, Mo is amazing, not just because she's amazing, but she's also amazing working with me because I tell you, I forget things. We almost missed getting my balloons today. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for Mo, like, okay, I went and got my balloons. You got your balloons. Because if you guys have not noticed, we aren't in the same location, although we've got very similar backgrounds. We don't live in the same state. So anymore, at least. So we don't live in the same state. And so we had to coordinate everything. And me being me, I was doing 50 billion things leading up to this, including trying to get my hair look like something. And we were texting back and forth. And I said I hadn't gotten to get my balloons yet, and it's like 6:15, right?
It was like 6 something.
And I was like, I'm gonna go get it after I do such and such. And she's like, they close at 7. And I was like, wait, we weren't even, this would be a text message. So I felt the eye roll via text message. So luckily, I live very close to the Party City, and I immediately just dropped everything that I was doing and hightailed. I thought they closed at 8. So in my mind, I had time to work until 6:30 and then go and figure it out. But if they closed at 7 and there were any traffic or they had a lot, either way, I'd have been screwed. So good thing Mo saved the party, as Mo saved so many other things. Mo helped edit the book. So for those who have the my SEO workbook, which I usually, but I didn't really do a good intro today, did I? I did not. You got one. So Mo's got her copy. Well, I'll do an intro that I did not do. For those who are just joining us, I'm Akilah Thompkins-Robinson, the host of the Girl Get Visible podcast and the author of my SEO workbook. And this is Monique. You guys have already met Monique. So yeah, so Mo actually helped with some of the editing of the book. So Mo, like I said, we would not make it without Mo. So let's jump into the questions, and we will, do all the things that we're going to do today.
All right. So Akilah, it is on to you now. So first question is from Sandra. And she says, I am stuck on what to name it and what to cover. Do I keep it specific or more general? And I'm assuming that's about like the podcast.
Yes. So this question was around naming the podcast. And this is a good question. I've got a lot of insight here, not just because, of course, me doing SEO and stuff like that, but also some of you guys may not know that I changed the name of the podcast last was it last year, the year before last? It feels like ages ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. But I changed, after a few years having the podcast, I changed the name of the podcast. So I've got a little insight on this from having two different names. So the name of the podcast used to be Online Boutique Source. And while we talked about a lot of the same topics around business and marketing, everything was like how retailers do business and how retailers do marketing and retailers do stuff like that. And then as I wrote the book and started talking more just about SEO and just about traffic, and changed the whole brand name. Well, not changed because I still have Online Boutique Source, but I got this new whole brand name. That led me to say, you know what, I should change the podcast. I was already talking about Girl Getting Visible and all about traffic and all about these things like that had solely become most of my topics, and that it just didn't make sense for it to be Online Boutique Source anymore. So I decided to change the name. So let me talk about why both of the names and the impact, because most people are like, oh, I'll just change the name. What did that actually do to the show? Because some people like start a new show. Some people just change the name of the show because it was all like the same and the same me. I just decided to change the name of the show, but I saw a bit of a difference between the two. So Online Boutique Source is a highly searchable name. People find Online Boutique Source just because they're looking for help with online boutiques. And so it in itself, just the name, gets lots and lots of traffic, to the point where, as I was telling people this, because I would be talking about SEO and talking about online boutique, you don't know how many people went and tried to optimize their sites and SEO me out of my spot. And yes, for those who don't know, if you know a little SEO, yes, you can tell when somebody's trying to SEO you out your spot, for real. So, but it was a highly searchable name, and it was highly searchable even as a podcast name. Girl Get Visible, on the other hand, it's a more niche-y type name and a more cutesy type name. And it's funny, I'm going to look at the comments because I know Michelle is going to talk about not being cute, because I always it needs to be cute, it needs to be findable. So Girl Get Visible is not as much of a searchable name. It's not something that people aren't like, I need to figure out how to be Girl Get Visible, or even how to get visible, because it's just such a broad topic. So when I changed the name, I took that little hit on, I no longer have the name that's like always going to just pop up in search and pop up like, because it's just online boutiques. It was just coming up like boom, boom, boom. This name isn't as searchable, but I think it's a lot more fun. And I think it means more once people see it. So what that means, and answering your question, Sandra, what that means is when you're naming the show, you definitely want something either way that is going to relate to your audience. A lot of people want to name shows after yourself and name shows just random things. And I'm like, no, name things that are name it something that's going to fit with your audience. You can name it like, I could be Girl Get Visible, Girl Get Visible podcast hosted by Thompkins-Robsinson, which is long. That's why it's not that. But if you definitely need to put your name in there, then you could do something like that. But I would definitely make something that is going to make sense to your audience, whether it's super searchable or if it's just something that they happen to find. Like when somebody happens to find Girl Get Visible, they're like, yeah, now that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It may not have been what they were thinking about beforehand. Like Online Boutique, they were thinking about that beforehand. And then they see it and it's like, yay, I found it. Girl Get Visible, they may not have been thinking about it beforehand, but when they do see it, they're like, oh, that makes sense. And so once it comes up in the search, which I'm sure we'll wind up talking about that in some of the other questions, it still makes sense to them to click on it. So I would avoid just naming things after your name. I would avoid naming things way too broad. The other thing I'm going to say, and I know Sandra happens to work with Facebook groups, like helping people to build and optimize like really super profitable Facebook groups. Don't make it too broad. Don't make it so like, oh, just all Facebook groups or something like that. I would try to niche down a little, like on Facebook groups for entrepreneurs, or very specifically, how to monetize a Facebook group, or how to build a profit, or Facebook groups that sell. So something that really guides people a little bit closer to what they're doing, not just saying like the Grow Your Facebook Group podcast or anything like that. Some of the really broad names are already taken. So that's a whole nother story. But so that's my thing about naming. I think you should make sure that it's something that people that's gonna resonate with them. Findable if you can. Like, so if you've got some real good searchable keywords, then you can do that. Avoid your name at all costs. Avoid your name until we get the blue check mark and become like super like famous. We have to accept that people want the content, not us just yet.
Michelle says the name fits you.
Thank you, Michelle.
And when I see it, I don't read it as "Girl Get Visible." I'll be like, "Girl Get Visible." Yes. That's how I read it, and I could just be crazy, but no, that's how I see it. So I can see how everyone else can like see it, like, oh, you know what? I need to get into this. I need to see this podcast. Like, yes. That's awesome. All right, so I have another question, and it's from Patrice. And is there a market for the food industry in podcasts? She said, I said it a few times. I wanted to, but don't know what to cover in regards to that.
That's another good one. And again, because I know Patrice, so how would I know your stuff? Just a little bit. So that's another really good one. Like, what do I cover in a topic? So there are definitely food podcasts out there. With food, there's a couple of different angles. Are you serving the food, or are you the one like making the food? So I'm sure there's like chef podcasts out there and people talking about how to make food. And one of the things when people, and I know Patricia a little bit, her goal is to help moms who need to cook for, busy lifestyles and active kids. So one thing I see a lot of people do when they do anything with food is they just get on and they do like the chef thing. So they just start like, every video is going to be about cooking something. Everything is going to be about doing something. You can't necessarily do that on a podcast. So that's not going to look as good. Like, I can tell you the ingredients. I can let you hear the sizzle, but it's not going to really be as much with a podcast. So with your podcast, you're going to want to focus more on what is that person's goal. So we're talking about the moms with the busy teens, you would maybe talk about, nutritional things, fast snacks on the go, things like that. And I would name the podcast something around feeding a busy kid or feeding your athlete or something like that. Not necessarily around this is how you cook or this is what you would do if you want to cook or how you make a specific recipe. So the first half of the question, yes, there's definitely plenty of food stuff out there. The second half of the question is that you're really going to want to talk more about your person's goals in terms of what you name it. Like I know I follow one that's about, I forgot the name. It's got a really cute name too, but it's something about dieting, which is how I got to it. It's something about not being able to diet very well. Like every day is a new day for your diet or something like that. So it is me. It is like, can't stand a diet, gonna fail 50 billion times. And literally while they talk about food, what they're really talking about is how to keep restarting your diet every single day. I really need to find the name of that, but it's really, how to restart your diet almost every single day. So while you ask me the next question, I'm going to look for the name of it.
Yeah, of course. This question is really interesting because I think it probably resonates with a lot of people. And it's probably one of the most simplest questions. I believe it's from Phaedra. And she just started off with the term starting it. How does one go about doing this in the first place?
All right. So, and I did not find the podcast, but I will put it in the notes or something. But okay, so how to start a podcast? Very simply, and I know and everybody's going to be like, kill it. It's not that simple. You just get a mic and start talking, like for real. But maybe before you start talking, you decide on your topic. So you decide on your topic, you decide on your niche and what you're going to focus on. You map out your first couple of topics, and then you also decide on your format. Now, and I don't think we have a format question, so I guess I'll talk about it here. Yeah. You don't have to stick with the format you have. And the format, for those who aren't as familiar with podcasting and this kind of stuff, a format is whether or not you're going to do like an interview style or a solo or a 5-minute podcast. So like there's 50 billion formats you can choose. You can choose from the type of how your podcast is going to flow. Pretty much that's what a format is. You don't have to stick to that. And I say that because I switch back and forth, but I think it also adds a little bit of like flavor to what you're doing. So a lot of people feel like I need to figure out the exact style that I'm going to do my podcast in before I do the podcast. Or what if I don't have enough people to interview before I start to interview? You can start without interviews and then start interviewing as you get more people. You can start with, like I was just talking to someone today, And she was talking about what she's gonna start her podcast, and she mentioned an episode just talking about like the 10 do's and don'ts of her niche. And I was like, that's a perfect first podcast. Why not introduce them to like the 10, like just start building that foundation, that kind of thing. So you can definitely start that way. A lot of people start with a podcast zero, which is like their intro. I don't believe in podcast zero. I don't. Start with your first episode. Your first episode is you. It's okay. So I think the way you get started is literally to start talking and get started with it. So I'm actually getting a house party right now, which is crazy. And I'm like, should I answer and just say, hey, we're on live? Yeah, tell them to join, right? But threw me off completely. But yeah, so you can just start it by starting. I would get a mic. A decent mic is like, I've got the Blue Yeti. I know I used to have the Blue Snowball, the ATR 2100. All of these are like under $100. Well, one of them might be a little bit over, but like really decent price mics. You can start on your phone, like just with voice notes. You can simply start with that. So really the best way to start is to get started. If you're thinking like equipment, I record a lot of the episodes on Zoom. How many of you guys use Zoom? Give me like a thumbs up or a heart or something if you use Zoom. I don't know. I'm probably a delay, right? So you guys I can't see your thumbs up when they happen. But if you use Zoom, I literally meet with myself where it's just me on the camera, just talking. And that's how I record an episode. I've even started using StreamYard. Mo and I have a team group, and I'll be like, ignore anything that comes into the team group because it's me streaming there, so I can later use it as a recording and I download. Zoom I like because Zoom gives you the audio file. So if you do a clean recording, and clean to me just means just don't stop. You don't have to worry about the ums or the flubs or things like that, but just don't stop. So if you do a clean recording and just don't stop, then you can literally put that over in your podcasting host and get started.
All right. So there's two questions that are similar. So I'm going to kind of put them together from Patricia and Kwanda. So okay. We talked about, starting, how to even start the podcast. Okay, now you have a podcast. How do you even market it? So it's how do you market a new podcast, and what's the best way to promote it so that you can get to this 100K downloads?
Okay, so good question, since we're here for 100K, right?
Yeah.
So the best way to market is everywhere, especially in the beginning. There's a couple of layers for marketing. There's like the marketing you do as soon as an episode drops. And Mo can even tell you like how we do some of our episodes, because she's refined some of those processes. But it's like, we make sure we send it to the guest. If we have a guest on that show, we put it in our group, we put it on our page, we put it on our we put it on all the other like Instagram, all of the other things. We do a little headliner thing. So we do all the things you constantly hear about. The other thing I also do is I go back but I go forward, and 3 months later, I'll promote some of that stuff again. I'll reshare. A lot of people just do one and done and never share their stuff again, which is crazy to me. But I reshare, so I make sure that like 3 months later, 6 months later, if I just happen to be talking about something, here you go. So that's another way that we promote it. If I talk about a certain topic, so I forgot what number episodes it is, but I did 2 episodes on getting government contracts, which I was inspired to do based on a conversation that happened in a group. And then my sister happens to be a small business specialist for the EPA, and this is what she does literally for a living. All of her life, or most of her life. And so I had her come on and we talked for over an hour, which makes 2 episodes for me, because I only do about 30 to 45 minute episodes. And so what I did, once those episodes were done, I went back to that group. Now, this was probably like months later after that conversation, but I went back and I looked for that conversation. I said, hey, if you're still looking, here's some episodes about it. And I dropped it in there. That way now, anyone who ever asked in that whole thread, anyone that said following and all of that, they just got a Facebook notification about something super relevant to what they were looking for. Even if it was a couple of months ago, Someone's still looking now, and it gets bumped up in that group. Also, I would go to other groups I'm in and see if anybody else was asking about that and say, hey, drop the link a couple of different places, and not in a spammy way. I only drop it as an answer to someone else's question. So someone would have had to ask about like government contracts or minority business certification, women-owned business certification, all those keywords that I knew from the episode. All of those keywords, that's what I would be looking at. And then I would, share that way. The other way I'm going to tell you guys, because you guys know you're talking to me, is I SEO every single podcast episode. Every single one. Even as Mo is working on it now, she SEOs every single podcast episode. Every single one. So we use the show notes formula. We make sure we use our keywords. We make sure the topics, especially my first topics. Now I kind of veer off and do things that may or may not be super like popular right now. But a lot of my episodes are based on things that I know people are talking about, things that I know people are searching for, things that I've done some research that this is a good topic. Like a lot of things, especially in the beginning, were really about making sure I had the right content that people are going to look for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Akila, I have a live question in the comments. Do you want me to go to that one?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Actually from Phaedra. Hey, just answered one of your questions. But she said, Akila, I have read recently that it's good practice to record video with your podcast and upload those to a YouTube channel. Just curious if you do that or if you can speak to that. She said, I already do video and upload that to my YouTube channel. So for me, I would mostly be doing the reverse to start a podcast.
So I'm all about the Queen of Repurpose. So if you can repurpose it, if it makes sense to repurpose it. Not every podcast episode I do is going to be really interesting video content. Sometimes it's really just good audio. But I do, like, I'll take a Facebook Live and make it into a podcast episode. I will take a YouTube and make it to a podcast episode, or vice versa. Like something like this video is super engaging. There's a lot of things going on the screen. I would make that into a podcast episode. But I also make sure I have some unique content on YouTube and some unique content on my podcast. Like everybody gets some unique stuff. And then there's things that everybody gets that overlap a little bit. But you're reaching two different audiences. So I would not let waiting for YouTube stop you from podcasting. So that's really important because there's a YouTube audience that, there's potential that's going to do well on YouTube. And then there's a podcast audience, and your podcast people who listen to podcasts aren't necessarily your YouTube people, and vice versa. So and that's the other thing, I don't always look like this. I'm going to be super honest. Like this right here, makeup, earrings, and all of that. Sometimes my podcast episodes are in my PJs and my hair is on top of my head. And so I don't want, like, again, and a lot of times, especially early in the morning, some of you guys know, but if you don't know, I have a 5-year-old, loves a little 5-year-old, but he's, wakes up and gets loud and stuff. So I'll record things like 6 a.m. It's just me and my coffee in the sun. I'm not going to do that on YouTube or do that on Facebook or do that anywhere. Some of you guys may have heard episodes that I do in Starbucks. They just happen, right? So I don't set one location for everything, if that makes any sense. You can put things on YouTube. Best practices just means you might get traffic from both places if the content appeals to both audiences, but it doesn't like help your podcast downloads. Very few people who watch your YouTube channel are gonna be like, oh, now I want to go listen to it on the on iTunes or anything like that. They're just not the same audience. They don't even be having the same apps on their phone. They're not the same people.
Makes sense. Thanks, Akila. So I have another question from Kwanzaa, and it is about the 100K again. Okay. So she asks, what do you think contributed to you getting to 100K with so few episodes?
Okay, so one is time. So although I have a few episodes, I have been doing it a couple of years, but I got some questions in there about this. I am not the most consistent. Well, I've gotten better. I've got Mo. Mo has upped our consistencies with having our podcast. So thank Mo for that. People used to literally be like, I can't wait till you put on a new episode. And I might not have done an episode till 6 months ago. Like when I say gaps, they are like you can walk in these gaps. So that's one thing. Time does definitely help. I think I could have hit it sooner if I had been more consistent. But the other thing, the marketing. So making sure that I post new and old. I don't just post the new ones, making sure that I put it in prominent places. So places where people are literally already looking for the answers, making sure that I SEO it. So making sure that people are finding it in search. A lot of my episodes, I've talked about this a couple of times in my recent workshop. A lot of my episodes are like, I still get hits for things that I did back in like 2017, like 26, like just people just still listening to this stuff. And when I look at my daily stats, like 50% of my daily, like 40 to 50% most days of my daily are older episodes. They aren't just that new episode. So imagine if I was only talking about and promoting the thing I did this week, I would be at 50K and not at 100K, because I would have lost that, that kind of longevity of that in the back. Also using it in thank you. Also, I'm reading Michelle's comment that I'm supposed to be super engaging and relevant. I'm sorry. Thank you. So also I use it other places. So like I use it in my lessons. I use it in my email, because my site gets generally just gets traffic, especially online boutique stores. I have like some beginner, like, how much this getting started cost. I might have a podcast episode about that. I'm going to put that in my email. So every time in my email sequence, Brittany's going to love this part, in my email nurturing welcome sequence. So every time someone signs up for my list, at some point in time, they're going to get an episode of the podcast to listen to. So you think if you get 1,000 people on your list, that is 1,000 people that's listening to at least one episode. And most people who listen to one will wind up listening to like more and more and more. So there's a lot of things that contribute to getting to 100K. It's not just a one shot deal. I did this one thing and now I got 100K. I also have podcasts like I created that goes with my content. So for those who know about my SEO visibility success path, guess what? They all have podcast episodes. There's a whole series. I love a good series. And so there's a whole series that will, I talk about one and I'm like, in the next episode, I'll talk about this and I'll do the series. Series are really good. I don't overdo series, but I do have just in recent years, I got the SEO visibility podcast one. I've got the, how to hire for SEO, which was like a mistake series. I didn't even mean to do those episodes, but I did. Like I did them different times and was like, wait, this is a series. This needs to be this. Like my Kickstarter series. So that's another one about like how I did Kickstarter and kickstarted the Kickstarter campaign for the book. I did a before, during, and after for that. So a good series helps too. So all of these things, all of these little things that I've done help bring together 100K downloads.
All right. So my next question I have for you that was written for you is a little bit lengthy, and I hope I'm saying their name right. Janaya.
I think so. I've only read it too. So yeah.
Okay, so Janaya. I'm sorry, girl, if I said your name, but I have a podcast and I'm releasing my 70th episode this week. Whoop whoop. I get on average just under 250 downloads per episode, sometimes more and sometimes less. Total downloads is 13,000-ish. I've been pretty consistent, with weekly episodes. Twice I've had to pause because of family issues and demands. I email my list and post in my free FB group and on my FB page about each episode. Email a provincial organization. She said, I've guested on a handful of other podcasts and plan to do more that are in the fall. I ran ads for an episode I did with Dr. Temple Grandin. The ad got a lot of views, but I didn't see a big jump in my downloads. I'm not sure what else to do. And she also said that my podcast is for parents of kids with intellectual disabilities, which is awesome.
Okay. So I remember this question. I looked at the show really briefly, not like in depth. So take what I'm saying and like don't say, oh my God, she said it was horrible. But when I normally see a show that's steadily producing and not steadily growing in the numbers, the first thing I look at is what are their topics about? What are your topics about? Who are your guests? Guests are important. I have a whole theory on how I do like big guests, medium guests, and just starting out guests, like emerging guests. So big guests draw people. I still get things. I still get hits. One of the podcast episodes that I did years ago that still gets hits is an interview with Rachel Miller. I'm on page 1 for Rachel Miller's name. So How crazy is that for somebody else's name? So, she's one of my bigger guests where she just gets lots of traffic to her name. And so because she's got lots of traffic to her name, it brings lots of traffic to my site. Again, everything on my site is also optimized so I can be number one for her name. So that would be one thing. Like, do you have some guests on that are bringing in the names and bringing in like kind of the leaders in your industry? But also, do you have some emerging people in your industry? A lot of people say, I'm only going to go for big names. I've seen people who are like, I'm only going to bring on someone who has an audience of like over 10,000 or over 100,000. And the fact of the matter is that they're not really going to promote as much just because they're so busy and they're probably on things all the time. Somebody in emerging business will promote the heck out of it. So they're going to share it. They might run ads to it themselves. So, you kind of want to think about that. You want to think about really the topic they bring, not necessarily only the numbers that they bring, and having people at different levels in their own business is going to help to boost that. So that's one of the things I would say. The other thing is just purely topics, 70 topics. And if you're not getting residual traffic, I would look at the SEO on your site, where you're hosting it. And my podcast, the main site is my website. So that's why we put everything on the website so we can continue to bring traffic. I would look at that. I would look at the topics. Like there's a couple of things there, but I would say for 70 episodes and you've been consistent, that would be kind of where I would look. I'll also say, and I know my podcast friends are going to like wring my neck for this, that it's okay to take a break. It is okay. So like when she said in the question, she had some family things, you can unapologetically take a break. I know a lot of people who just do seasons, who just say, I'm just going to take off the summer, season 3 starts in the fall. But it's okay to take a break. If you are optimizing in other ways, if you're still sharing out stuff, things like that, you'll still get downloads even when you're taking a break. When on my had not been around for months, maybe even a year, I was still getting 1,000 hits a month. Just from search, from my emails, from things, I was still getting at least 1,000 hits a month coming to the podcast. So don't feel bad if you have to take a break. Don't feel like my things are going to tank. If you've done all the other things to make sure that the episodes that you have are continuously working for you, you're going to still get downloads even when you take a break, especially for family reasons. Please take the break.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a podcast with parents of kids with intellectual disabilities is pretty cool. I haven't seen a lot of podcasts like that. So that's awesome. All right. So the next question is from Kwanda. What is different about having a guest and having solo episodes?
Okay. So, Michelle gave me I'm looking at Michelle and I need to not look at the chat.
I don't know if that's a smiley face.
A shock face. Let me tell you, the shock face, I never know if it's good shock or a bad shock. Sometimes I have to ask people, is it good or bad? It's okay. What did I do?
That was a good shock face or a bad shock face?
Yes. So to answer Kwanda's question, wait, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Kwanda asks, what is different about having a guest and having solo episodes?
Really how much you can hold interest. In the beginning, I did more guests because again, I wanted people that were to talk about, and I wanted people that were going to share it. So I had a lot more guests in the very beginning. Then afterwards, especially recently, this little revelation of mine, and I say recent, within the last year, especially when I moved over to Girl Get Visible, this revelation is what has helped us be consistent, because getting guests, chasing guests, going back and forth with guests, then editing guest podcasts, editing, and I do a lot of my own editing still. So if you don't do your own editing, you won't have this problem. But editing guest episodes is harder for me. It's more work. You know what I mean? So, and I care more, but of course, I don't want a guest to look bad. I'll laugh with you guys and tell you I messed up all the time. I don't want my guests to feel that way. So it just took longer. And it was just more work, always having a guest. So I would say on the back end, the work part, having a guest was a lot of work. When can you start? And Kwanda, I know your business, and Kwanda was actually on episode 49. I should know these episodes. I should have a list of episodes. Right? I know. But Kwanda was on the podcast too. So I definitely know her business and know her following, that you've got a name in your own right. you could go on there and I've actually listened to some of your episodes. You can go on there and just talk and people are going to listen. So I think when you get to that level where people are like, you don't have to be Michael Jordan famous, but when you've got like your own people that kind of just will listen to you, then you've got enough that you can start doing more solo episodes. My solo episodes, and just because I am this way, are a little bit more teaching. Also a little bit more of my opinion, like how I give y'all when I lean to the side, like I just start telling y'all something. That's how my podcast episodes are. We get lots of in the car podcast episodes because I'm going to work. As I'm stuck on Route 3 in traffic, I have lots of thoughts. And so that's why I just, hit rev and start recording my lots of thoughts. So you get a lot of solo episodes because of that. The guests, I think it's good. I started bringing on more guests now on the show, but I'll tell you now, my thing is like, okay, I've got this solo topic I really want, and I've got this guest, and Mo and I are always trying to figure out how to put that in the schedule, like how to get enough guests. And like at this point, people are like, oh, I can be a guest. And I'm like, I can't get another guest until August because I've got, or not even August anymore, like September, because I've got so many people. Plus with my own episodes I've already recorded, we've actually got a whole bunch of unedited stuff that I got to get out. Yeah. I need to get to Mo like yesterday. So I think either or is good. The important thing is, are they good guests? Are they the topic is really the most important thing. If you can speak to it, speak to it. If you need a guest or you think a guest can come and help to speak to it some more, then bring on the guest. But really everything for me starts with, what are the topics that I wanted to address and what are topics that I want to bring out? So hopefully that answers your question.
Akila, Brittany said in the comments, I don't edit.
Oh, you froze. Uh-oh. Okay, so Mo froze. I don't know if we froze. Let me check. That would be important. All right, are you back? Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Oh, I'm so
I was like, wait, you froze, and I was trying to see I froze too.
Technology. But I was saying, Brittany was saying that she doesn't edit.
She doesn't edit.
Yeah, and that's reckless.
I don't think that's reckless. I would do a lot less editing if it wasn't for me in this intro thing. I love my intro. My husband created the intro. So for those who hear the song, wait, funny enough, because Brittany's on, Brittany gave me the idea for the intro. She said, because I like hip hop, if you guys don't know, I love hip hop. And she was like, you should have something like hip hop, get visible, girl, get visible. And so I went and told my husband, who does music and stuff like that and makes beats and things. And so I was like, I've got this idea. It sounds all crazy. And so I recorded the words. I told him what I wanted and he went off. And even like the little movie clip, I don't even know what movie it's from, but I love it. Like I love the whole thing. So if it wasn't for that, I probably would do zero editing. But I do try. I mean, I don't want it to be horrible. That's the only thing that's important to me. I don't want it to be horrible. And I want people to be able to follow it. I know I tend to trail off in my conversation. So sometimes I got to cut myself off in editing.
That makes sense. All right. And we actually have a live comment from LaShayla. Hey. She said, how and when can podcasts become profitable?
So it depends on how you want to profit from your podcast. Good question. I don't think we have anything about money. That's important. Money questions. So look, I got to move my hair for that one. So it depends on how you want to profit or when you want to profit from your podcast. My podcast, if you listen to it, I am my own sponsor. I have sponsored episodes in two ways right now, right? And especially in the beginning, everything was, this is sponsored by online boutique stores, and I actually use our program. So like the book, and like, this is sponsored by my SEO workbook, the book, great book for SEO, and whatever my commercial says. I tape commercials. It's so funny. So that was one way, is that I used it in order to get my products in front of more people, because it is very closely aligned to my business, and I really want to use it to bring people in. But I don't just think people are going to listen to me, like me, and come to follow me. No, I do full-on commercials of my own stuff. So I do full-on commercials to join my email list. I do full-on commercials to get into my memberships. I do full-on commercials as if I was promoting, the Blue Yeti mic. I do full-on commercials for my own stuff. So that's one way to monetize that you can do out the door, and you should. The second way I monetize is through affiliate. Now, affiliate programs are a lot easier to sign up for. Usually you can just sign up, say, I've got a business, and they will give you a code that you can then make the affiliate. And so I take all my codes, I put them in the pretty links, and I have affiliates. So things like rev.com, which I like. Actually, rev.com came to me to be an affiliate. They were like, we selling your stuff, you should be an affiliate. But it's their actual affiliate program. They're not a sponsor. They are an affiliate sponsor. And what I do in there, I do a commercial. So I've got full-on commercials about, rev.com and how I use it to help transcribe everything. How it helped me write my book, because I would transcribe my words. So I have a whole commercial in there. And I treat those affiliates just like I would treat a $500 sponsor. And then and that's another thing you could do almost immediately. There's no barrier to when you can start promoting on your stuff. I say promote from the door so people know exactly what they get into. This is a business. This is a podcast that's for a business or part of a business, not that it's like something else, right? And then the third way, which is where their numbers start to matter more, is to go out and get sponsors. Now, I've been approached for people who want to sponsor. Usually they aren't in a good alignment enough for me. I've even, like last year, I was like, I might take on sponsors. And I had a couple people like, yeah, we would love to sponsor. And I just haven't brought on any sponsors. But that's when they're going to want to know, like, how many downloads do you get in the first month? Usually they want at least 1,000 downloads within the first 30 days in order to like really kind of consider you for sponsorship. I'm in a couple of programs that have like those calculators, and the calculators might say like, and that's one of the reasons why I don't do it, because like might say like maybe 200, maybe 100, like for one episode. Usually people sell episodes within like four episodes or 8 episodes. So all of those different times. Those take a little bit longer, but the real question is when you can become profitable. Immediately you can use it to start promoting your stuff and promoting affiliates and stuff like that.
All right. Money. That was like the very one question about profits. That's awesome.
Yes. So I'm glad you asked it. Thank you.
That was a good one.
Someone else was thinking that, or someone else was like, thank God she asked that question.
So I know that we talked about in a prior question about like gaps and like taking a break. And I see even a comment from Michelle. It says, not to do a podcast episode, blasphemy, life happens. But there's 2 other questions that kind of come together from Kwana, and it says, what happened with all of the big gaps that you took, specifically, Akilah? Mm-hmm. And what would you say to someone who does need to take a break? Kind of like what you were saying to Janiyah, but if you wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more.
I would say plan them better than I did. And usually my gaps, I'm going to be so honest with you guys, because, it's 100K and we're here and they're there. So you could go look at them. But usually my gaps come out of either frustration or just overwhelm. Like it's a lot to run a business. I have a blog. I do have clients and members. You guys see them on here. And my members will tell you, my members always come first. So if it's between putting out a podcast this week and doing a call with my members, I'm going to do a call with my members because they're my people, right?
Yeah.
So I would say a lot of my gaps came out of that. And in the beginning, even came out of, I just wasn't sure if it was things that people wanted. Like, I just didn't feel that first getting up to like first 2,000, downloads and stuff like that. That's hard because you're literally just putting out there and waiting for somebody to pick it up. Like, pick it up, please. And it really wasn't until I started, like, cause during those gaps. So one thing I would say about anytime you take a gap, do not stop paying your podcast hosting bill. Like, that's real. Libsyn, one thing I love about Libsyn is that you can, if you're not actively uploading, they keep your episodes. If you're not actively uploading, you can go down to the lowest plan, which at the time was $7. So it was like, just for $7 a month, my podcast can remain out there. So whatever you do not stop paying the podcast hosting bill, because I did not stop paying. Because I knew it was good content. And like I said, I was using it all these other places and using it for like my email, stuff like that. And then when I would go look at the numbers and see that people were, whether I had a new episode or not, people were listening.
Yeah.
And then when people would inbox me, or they were like, we would meet or something in a group or something like that, and they'll be like, yeah, listen to your show. When's the next episode? And I'd be like,
great
sorry.
question.
Yeah, like, sorry. So I would say if you're going to take a gap, if you know in advance, so sometimes you just don't know when you're going to take a gap. Like my gap would be next week. I'll get another episode out next week. And then next week would come and I would say next week, like another episode out next week. And the next week became a month and month became lots of months. So you don't always know, but if you do know, I would maybe put something on my site or maybe say in the last episode, yes, I'm going to be gone for a while or something to that effect, something to kind of give people a heads up. If you're doing seasons, if you plan out your life, which I don't do very well. If you plan out your life, you could say, I'm going to take off every summer and like what months you're going to be off and on. So you can do things like that. So yeah, if you have gaps, but take them. The only thing I would say about a gap is don't stop paying that bill. Keep paying. Don't think that just because it doesn't look like anyone's listening or just because you're not actively putting out a new episode does not mean people aren't listening, does not mean people won't find you. If you do all the things that I talk about in my programs, you will still be found whether you are producing or not. And my podcast is literally, there's not a month I don't have downloads, whether I got an episode or not.
SEO Rule 101.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. I thought about this and I didn't say it. The other thing is hire someone, bring on a team member who can help you. The reason why we've been so much more consistent in 2020 is because Mo's been on the team, but I finally said, here, take the podcast. Like I just can't in my life. And I remember when we first started, it's like the show notes, like, cause that's the SEO part. I'm like, yes, I'll ship you the book. I'll tell you how to do show notes. And then she was like, you want sending it to me like, proofread. No, because I realized I was the bottleneck. I can talk for hours, as you guys know, but all of the editing, the show notes, the getting it up, just the uploading, like it's a lot of steps, And so it made a lot more sense for me just to hire someone. So thank you, Mo. You literally are the reason why we're here right now.
I'm happy to be here. All right. This is a great question, actually, Akila. What are or were some of your best and favorite episodes?
Oh, okay. My best and favorite. I don't know what my favorite one was. Okay, so my favorite, because this is one of the ones that I just did because it's a good topic, but I also did it because I really, really love hip hop and I really wanted to, is my When Did You Fall in Love with Hip Hop episode. And I will tell you, this is where the one time SEO went out the window. I didn't care that it was not a Googleable topic. I didn't care about anything. I talk in the episode for those who listen to it. I talk about trigger points and what triggers people to buy. So it's a very good lesson in the episode, but I compared it to When Did You Fall in Love with Hip Hop, which is a line out of Brown Sugar. And I even got clips from all the bunch of hip hop artists from the movie. They weren't talking to me, but it was one of my favorite episodes to do. It was so much fun. So I'm going to say that was probably one of my favorite episodes, but not necessarily, not the best. The best episodes, the best performing episodes are Rachel Miller's episode does really well. She talks about, she pretty much does SEO for Facebook. So she talks about growing an audience and that strategy, which was really good. And then surprisingly enough, I have one episode on not even time management, but it's something like how I run my business with only a few hours a week. And I just go through the things that I do in order to run my business, being like a mom and a wife and working and all the other things and having my own business. And people love that episode. That episode gets so many, it just tells you how many people out there are just overwhelmed by every time I see the numbers on that episode, I'm like, wow, because that's not necessarily what my show is about, but it's a really big thing. It attracts people and people find it and they listen to it.
Yeah. I would say, Akila, what I like, well, I'm probably being biased, but I like that a lot of times your episodes kind of with the times. So I would say personally, one of my favorite episodes you had, and I quote me if this is the right title, but it was bringing offline businesses online with guided teaching.
Yes,
okay. That episode was really good because I think that was around the time that the pandemic was starting to happen, and a lot of people that have their own business, entrepreneurs, are freaking out, because they're like, how am I going to be successful right now in this pandemic? And you kind of taught them. You're like, hey, guided teaching, here's this thing I could tell you about. And it doesn't have to be for just the typical businesses I talk about. Are you a chef? Are you a teacher? And I was like, this is such a good episode. So I personally like that a lot of your episodes kind of go along with the times, and it's not just random. You actually put some thought. It's intentional.
That one actually, so sometimes it is intentional, but that one was a rant about my hair.
Well, it was.
That one was really, because to this day, I still need someone to hop on, and I'm getting better at this wash and go thing. Still a couple of colors, but so I'm getting better. But that literally was like, I wish someone would take this advice so I could hire them.
I remember you were sending me pictures with the rollers, and I was like,
yes.
"Oh my god!"
Because you were like, "You should put with your rollers. That's a good cover." I'm like, "Oh, okay, here you go."
I think I tried. This was a great episode. I think that's probably why I did remember it too. Was the rollers.
So, you guys, it's a team effort here.
All right, and I have one more question. Achilles says, "Ooh, opposite. Is there any episode you wish you could do over?"
Oh, I won't call out any guests because that's rude. But I will say, I think it's like episode 2 or 3, and literally it's because and I probably have a couple like this. Production quality. Now, while I'm not, like I talked about not editing, I am, so I don't edit but so much, but I also have gotten much better at production quality. I don't think it needs to be perfect, but I think there's just some that just are really bad, and it gets distracting. And it's an episode I did about drop shipping. So I'm glad I don't talk about that so much. I'm not sending people there that much, but, oh, you know what? There's 2 episodes I hate too. Another one I hate. Now I just thought about that. So there's one about drop shipping that the audio quality is just sucks. There's like 2. There's one about drop shipping. Another one I did when I was in the car, but the content was so good. And one of the things about me, which hopefully this will help somebody else, is free somebody else, is I don't like pre-write a script or anything. I usually put like a couple of words on the back of a napkin or a piece of paper. Like I always have paper here on the side of me. I'm left-handed, so it's on the side. But I always have paper, and I just scratch out like just the things I want to cover. And then I start talking because I know my shit. I just start talking. So sometimes when I do that, it's hard for me to re-record if I need to. And I've had times when my mic didn't come on. I'll do a whole nice episode and be like, damn, I can't do that again. Granted, I got the same thoughts, but it would just seem so robotic because I'll be trying to remember, is that what I said? What I said? So there's a couple of episodes, specifically that one on drop shipping. I know that the quality, I'm like, people are going to like it, and people did like it, but I wish I could have done that better and different. The other episode is, I actually have an episode about Donald Trump. Back when he used to do The Apprentice. And I have contemplated taking this episode down so many times. I'm thinking about it again as we're talking about this. So I have contemplated taking the episode down because it's Donald Trump at this point, right? And he wasn't great back then, but he wasn't what he is now. He wasn't like the craziness we got now. And even when he first got elected, and the whole thing with the craziness, I was like, again, it's a good episode. It's a lot of good lessons. And the lessons aren't necessarily about him. It was just using it because I use things as an example. Yeah. It was just really based on almost like when did you fall in love with hip hop? And so I would probably say that's my second that I'm still contemplating might disappear.
Go back and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, like it's gone. Listen now or forever hold your peace.
All right. So
I should put the podcast name. Did I even put the podcast name up? Most of you guys know me or know us. So I think you guys listen. But if you don't listen to the Girl Get Visible podcast, you can ask while I'm typing.
That was actually the last question.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. Oh, look at the time. Yes.
I don't know if anyone that's watching live right now has any questions that you want to ask Achilles. She continues to celebrate her 100K. Yay.
And at the very end, I finally put up the name of the podcast, right? But I do have, since we do have some time, and we'll keep watching for questions. So if you have more questions. Oh, D-Star says she's great. YouTube topic. We really do. And it's funny we got similar personalities. So what was I going to say? Oh, the announcement. This is important. So some of you guys know that our program right now, which is the Get Found, Get Visible Boot Camp, is open. Who knows that? Raise your hand if you know, right? If you're excited about that. So it happens to be open the week that we hit 100K. Not exactly planned. We knew it was going to happen in July. We just didn't know when. So, God had plans for us. You just had it to Google Play. Oh, Iris has a good question. Good question, Iris. I'm going to answer that. So what I decided, since this is happening at the same time that we are launching, I am adding a new bonus to the program. So for those who don't know what the program is pretty much working with me step by step to help get your business out there, get it found, get it visible, using content marketing, some SEO strategies, and all the things that I've used over this 100K to get my business up there. We use that in order to get your business, your podcast, your site. We use it to get your entire online profile up above and definitely number one in Google. So that is like our ultimate goal. So I show you the tweaks that you can make to your content, the tweaks that you can make to your website, the holes. Like when I was talking, answering, was it Jania? Am I saying her name right?
Janaya, I think it's Janaya.
Janaya, okay. When I was answering her question about some of the things that I would look at in order to see why she's producing so much but not getting the results, which is a huge problem, whether you're producing your podcast or producing your blog post or just producing for your business, putting things on social. A lot of people have a problem that they're doing a lot of work and they're putting a lot of stuff out there and just not getting the traction, not getting the audience, not getting the sales, not getting all that stuff. So this is what my program, my signature program, where we work together for 45 days. It's 21 steps, and we go through step by step how to get you on the road to finding the right content that meets the right audience, and that's going to start getting you the right traffic to your business. So since we are doing this the same time as me hitting 100K, I thought I would only be right and only be very helpful if I added a podcast specific bonus. Everything we're talking about is in general, your business, your business, your business. I do give you my podcast show notes formula, which is dope. Like Mo uses it. It's dope. Yeah. Stop talking about you. And you see some of my members here hanging out with us. So I am going to do a private workshop only with the bootcamp members. So this is the bonus. We're going to do a private workshop where we map out either your first, if you haven't started, or your next, if you've already started, 5 topics that are going to definitely bring you traffic. The right topics on your show is literally how we got to 100,000 today, like in any day, really. That's how we got there. So making sure we had the right topics aligned with our audience, what they had in mind, what their goals are. Like one of the things Mo mentioned, not planned at all, but one of the things she mentioned is how I keep it current with the times, because I know people are searching. People are searching for this stuff right now. We need to make sure we in that little mix of what they're searching for, and make sure it still meets your business needs. So that's very important too. So these are the things that we're going to do a full-on workshop. So after you learn the whole boot camp philosophy and the boot camp way, you go through the 21 days, we're going to get together and do nothing but map out. These are the things that should be, like I said, either your first or your next, because you can start producing good content anytime. Even if you've been doing this for years and never got any traction, you can still come back and produce good content. So we're going to talk about that. And so that is the bonus that I have added. It is available now if you go up to the site, and I'm going to put the little banner here. Doors are open, and I'm going to put, can I get to the comments myself? All right. I think I can get to the comment. Yes, doors are open. Look at that.
Yeah.
I might have posted it twice. Sorry if I posted it twice. But you guys can go there now. You can join us now, and we start on Monday. The doors close Saturday. And the reason why doors close Saturday is because you get the book that Mo's been showing us. So you do get the books. I'm shipping them out. My last run to the post office is Saturday afternoon. So all my folks who are in there will be getting the book. We'll be starting on Monday, and we will be kicking off your Getting Found, Getting Visible bootcamp and getting you out there in front of all the people and on your road to 100,000 if you aren't already there or need help getting there. So I saw Iris had a question.
Yes.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So Iris asks, how do you deal with a problem guest?
That's a good question. And I will say, for the most part, I've been very fortunate that I have not had a bad guest. Like, not one that I was just like, ooh, this is bad. The most I had one guest. God, am I talking about people? It was a long time ago. Maybe they don't remember. Either way, who refused to come on camera. And as you guys know, if you're just watching this hour of me, I like to talk and really engage and stuff like that. I do all my recordings on Zoom. So it was really difficult that this person did not come on camera, and they weren't super energetic. So maybe I could talk to you without camera if you're super energetic.
Yeah.
But they also weren't super energetic. So it was just like it was a drier episode. And so while it did hurt, I still put it up. I just quickly made sure something else came up behind it, and make sure. So if you do still put up the episode, make sure that whatever comes behind a dry or hard, difficult episode, make sure that the next one is a banger. Like, this is one that people have been asking me for. This is one that I know is going to hit hard. This is one that's going to be like a superstar guest. It's got to be something that's going to be like, they're going to listen to the drier one to get to the next one. And I would even, because you usually have some time between when you record and when you put it up, I would even at the end of the episode say, and next episode, I have whatever the banger is. Because you want them to make sure that they get from this dryness right here over to that. I've never had one so bad that I didn't produce it. I just didn't publish it. I have had an episode get lost that I felt so bad, and I just didn't have the heart to ask them to do another interview. So I just let that one go. But generally, I just haven't had a bad one. If I did have a bad one, if it was something I didn't want to publish, I would just say, I'm really sorry. It's just not the greatest fit or anything like that. I can say, like, once you get up to a certain point of downloads, so we didn't really talk about like what happens like once you get closer to 100K, but like once people started hearing that I was like nearing, like when I was at, I think 70K, I did like a little boomerang video and people were excited about it. But once people like realized how many downloads I get, because I'm not a super flashy marketer. I'm not running ads all the time. I'm out there, but I'm not like out there like doing all the like, I'm not doing cartwheels on the sidewalk and stuff like that. I'm not going live every day. So sometimes people don't really realize what my numbers are until I say something. And then when people started seeing that my numbers were, people really wanted to be on my show. And I had to get a lot more discerning about just no. Not in a being like, oh, I got the numbers, I'm telling you no. But if it's not a good fit, even when my numbers were lower, I had one guy who I really wanted him on. He did Facebook ads, and this was when I was only doing online boutique stores. He did Facebook ads. He was like the it person doing them at the time, and I really wanted him on. But his refusal, he was like, well, if I come on, I'm going to talk about Facebook ads for courses and not Facebook ads for boutiques, for retail. And I was like, well, and there isn't a lot different. This is not a lot different. So he was really just being himself. So I was like, you know what? I just can't have you on. If you aren't going to be good for my audience, I am not going to bring you on my show. And if you going to refuse, like in that case, go from being courses and coaches to only wanting to talk to, not talk to my audience, then you're not here for my audience. I just told him, I was like, I'm not putting that in front of my people. So you do have to try to stop the bad guests before they come on, because I'm sure that would have been a bad episode for my people at the time. So those are, I guess, my answers. Hopefully that helps, Iris.
That was awesome. And then Phaedra has a question about, you were mentioning the drop shipping episode. What was the name of the episode about drop shipping?
I don't remember the name. It might actually be, it's definitely got drop shipping in it, because that was one of the early ones. So It might be episode like 2 or 3. It's literally one of my very first episodes. You found it. Okay, cool. Yeah, literally one of my very first episodes. And says drop shipping because I wanted to make sure I hit that. I know when I'm trying to hit a keyword, I'm like, keyword, get that in there. Let's go. So I remember drop shipping. I was definitely trying to hit that keyword. Pros and cons of drop. See, like pros and cons of drop shipping. And that one I won't take down. Donald Trump might come down, but that one won't come down. Drop shipping didn't hurt nobody. And And it's still, although it's an older, and that's the other thing, I didn't really talk about that. Timeless episodes. Although, like that drop shipping episode is a couple of years old, everything in it is something that's definitely relevant today. Like everything I say about drop shipping and the pros and cons of drop shipping, everything is relevant for today. So that's the other thing, having some timeless episodes. Rachel's one is the timeless. There's another one I did that gets pretty good numbers. 5 books for business minds, or no, 5 books to get your business mind right, or something like that. Get your mind right for business. 5 books to get your mind right for business. That one gets a lot, but they're timeless. Like they're books that are still available. They're books that I would still recommend for people. All these things are like complete, like super relevant. And so people, again, are continuously searching. So while I do have some newer ones or things that are more at the time, like my Tyler Perry episode, I still also have some timeless ones that anyone's going to want to listen to and see. Hey, Deborah, so you were able to join. Deborah was saying she hasn't caught me live, so she's I'm happy you got me. Happy you caught us live. So we have any other questions, Mo?
Nope, I think that was the last one.
All right, cool. All right, so if there are no more questions, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully you had a good time. Thank you for all of you who have listened to my podcast, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. Thank you if you've ever listened to our show, if you've ever shared our show, which definitely share our show now. We get more than 100. We're okay with that. But thank you for everything. I really appreciate all the time that I've been doing the show. There's literally people who listened who never gave up on me. So thank you for that. Even when I went on my hiatuses and they were looking for a new episode. Thank you for everyone who's been a guest. I know some people have been a guest or been on different episodes. So like Michelle has been one of my recent episodes, my Real SEO Stories, another series that I did. Michelle's been on, LaShayla's been on. Brittany, I've had you on yet. I need to have you on soon. So thank you for everyone who's ever been a guest on the show, and been willing to share your story, share your expertise, come on, even when it was a little tiny podcast. I remember when I had no numbers. I literally was telling people, because I had good traffic to my site, I literally was like, here the traffic to my site. I'm sure people will want to listen to the podcast too. Be on my podcast, please. So I appreciate all those people who said yes to that when they're listening to this or if they're listening to this. And thank you guys for being with us.
Yay.
Yes, your episode was so much fun, LaShayla.
Yeah.
And I think we probably have to do another Pinterest episode soon. So and I do have repeat guests, and my folks are like, especially my clients and my members, I know their businesses. So I'm more than willing to have them on, not just like the Real SEO one was a little bit more of a testimonial case study type episodes, but just bringing on, like we recently had Raven on, just bringing them on for their expertise. Way back in the day, I had Kiara Jones on when she was in my retail membership. I've had Dorothy on when she was in my retail membership, and you never know who's going to go where in life, which is good too. But I'm also always very willing to have my clients on because I want them to shine, of course. And I know they know their stuff. I know they know their expertise. So if I can fit it into the business somewhere, you get in. You're welcome, Phaedra. Hopefully this is super helpful for you guys. And I'd love to see anyone else who starts a podcast or when's your next podcast episode or anything that's helped you along the way for what we do here. And just to reiterate the bonus, and I'll share it again here. I can't pin comments on this thing. That's bad.
No.
You need to add that.
I'll make sure I put the bonus in the group too for you, Killa.
Okay, great, thank you. So look, Mo's on the job. Get you a Mo, I'm telling you guys. But thank you. We got our new bonus. So for those who are thinking about a podcast, want to start a podcast, already have a podcast, need to revamp the podcast, you definitely need SEO. SEO, just so many ways, so many things. We didn't even get into links from other places and all that other good stuff of how a podcast really does help enhance your site. And so think you can put it on the live is over. Okay, thank you. I'll try that. So definitely head on over to girlgetvisible.com/the door is open. You will see the little pop-up that says new bonus added. If you're on the email list, you will get an email before this night is over. Join us. The doors do close on Saturday, and we get started getting out there, getting found, and getting visible on Monday. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
Any last words, Mo?
No, I'm excited. I think this is my very first time actually being on live with you. So that was very interesting.
Yes. And on the show officially, because this will be an episode.
Oh, wow. So I'm excited. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for the boot camp. You guys, if you're not there yet, if you haven't gotten into the door before it closed, please do. It's a lot of goodies. You will not be disappointed. I know the work that she's going to put for these members. So whatever your business is, it's going to be 10 times better. So definitely join before it closes. And yeah, I'm excited. We're going to have to do the road to 200 soon, right, Akila?
Yes. It definitely won't take so long because Mo is going to make sure we don't have so many gaps. So we will talk to you guys later. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.